The house is quiet, but it is not peace. The clock glares its numbers like an accusation. The chest is tight. The breath is shallow. A door creaks somewhere. A refrigerator hums, and you are very awake in a world that should be sleeping. The mind has called court, and you have been subpoenaed to the witness stand. Every conversation is reviewed, what you said, what you should have said, what they may think you meant. Bills line up like soldiers. Symptoms parade before you as if to prove their case. And the demands of tomorrow sit there with folded arms as if to say, well, what are you going to do about me? And the hidden fear that sits beneath all of it whispers, if you do not think this through right now, something will happen. If you do not hold vigil at this window of thought, the house of your life will be robbed. Let it be understood clearly. That is not responsibility. That is a trial without a judge, a sentence without law, an anxiety that impersonates duty. Do you not see the pattern? 3 a.m. arrives and thought steps forward like a savior, promising safety if only you will pace the corridors of your mind with it. And you walk, and you walk, and at 3:40 you are more tired. At 4 to 10 you have rehearsed the answers to questions that have not yet been asked. At 4:50 you are building a ladder out of toothpicks. By dawn, the Savior has left you exhausted, and the problems are not smaller. They have only grown teeth in your imagination. Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? That is not poetry. That is law. And yet we return to the measuring tape of fear again and again, as if to prove the master wrong. I speak to you as one who has known this hour, who has watched numbers burn into the eyelids and heard the heart knock on the ribs like a debtor at a closed door. And I tell you, responsibility is not worry. Duty is not torment. 3 a.m. is not the throne room of wisdom. What is the hidden lie in that hour? It is this. That thought is a guard at the door of safety, that by keeping your mind on alert, you will keep life from breaking in. That if you can think carefully enough, cautiously enough, intensely enough, you will avert danger, secure supply, prevent loss, heal the body, or control the future. And do you not know, have you not learned by the very fatigue of it that thought holds no such office? Be still and know that I am God. Not be tense and know. Not be clever and know. Be still. Now, I am not saying you must not have anxious thoughts. They come as wind comes. I am saying that the bondage is not their arrival. The bondage is that you believe thought is the place you must live. The cell is not built of the sentences that pass through the mind. The cell is the consent you give to thought as your ruler, your sentinel, your necessary keeper. At 3 a.m, the mind pretends it is protecting you. Its very wrestling binds your wrists. Do you see it? Do you feel that slight loosening in the chest when you admit that the sentinel has no real badge? You are not disloyal to your life when you refuse to worship thought. You are not careless when you refuse the summons to the night trial. You are, in fact, turning toward true responsibility, which is not to animate fear with attention, but to recognize that safety has another source than argument and rehearsal. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. The world gives a peace purchased by vigilance and more vigilance. The Christ gives peace that does not need your pacing to survive the night. So, let this be the first light in the room. The issue is not that anxious thoughts visit, they will. The issue is the belief that the narrow hallway of thought is your home. Begin, even now, to notice the masquerade. The judge on the bench is a puppet made of paper. The trial is a play written by an old fear. You can set down the script even while the clock still glares. you can breathe a little deeper and say within yourself, not as superstition and not as ritual, but as fact, I do not live by thought. I live by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. And in that quiet acknowledgement, the court begins to adjourn. Now, having seen the masquerade, let it be understood clearly what the master meant when he said, take no thought. The words are from the 6th chapter of Matthew. Take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink. Consider the lilies. Your heavenly Father knoweth that ye have need of all these things. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Let it be understood. Clearly, he was not advising vacancy. He was not applauding carelessness. He was not commanding repression, as if you could beat your mind into submission and call that holiness. He was not giving you a technique for turning off the mind as one turns a knob. If you try to put a padlock on thought, you will succeed only in tightening the head and calling it virtue. And it isn't going to be done. Do you not see? The false measuring rod is this. I am spiritual when I can force my mind to be calm, when I can out-argue my anxiety, when I can sit on my own thoughts with a stern face. This is a hopeless task. It is the same old material program masked as religion, one force seeking to conquer another force. Mental control is merely a subtler form of bondage because it still enthrones thought as power. You set one thought, painted white and called truth, against another thought, painted black and called fear, and you stage a duel at midnight and then wonder why you are exhausted at dawn. In that arena there are two powers, and you are the referee, and the outcome depends on how strong, how clever, how relentless you can be. And this is precisely what the Christ came to end. Take no thought is not suppression. It is transfer of basis. It is the invitation to live from a deeper sustainer than thought, to withdraw consent from the belief that human forecasting keeps you safe, supplied, or healed, and to rest back into that Father within, who knoweth that ye have need of all these things. Here also I can of mine own self do nothing, and here with it, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. The Master is not saying, do not plan, do not work, do not show up. He is saying, cease thinking that the life of your life is held together by your calculations. Cease imagining that worry is your guardian and that tightness is your duty. I speak to you not as a theorist, but as one who has watched nights turn into mornings without a single improved fact because I was wrestling a phantom army of thoughts, and as one who has also watched supply appear and health steady itself when there was no human avenue, obvious, when the only act was the relinquishment of mental combat and the quiet acknowledgement. Father, thou art the life of this situation. Do you not know what happens in that simple turning? The thought may still pass through, but its badge is gone. It is recognized as a visitor, not a lord. You have not conquered it. You have ceased to deputize it. Do not confuse spiritual rest with passivity. Rest is not inertia. Rest is the recognition of source. My grace is sufficient for thee. Not my cleverness, not my vigilance. My grace, when you live by grace, you may still use a calendar, pay a bill, see a physician, meet a deadline, yes, but you know the government is not yours. You have resigned as manager of the universe and taken your rightful office as witness to the Father's sufficiency. In this way, seek ye first the kingdom becomes a real instruction and not a pious motto. You seek the presence, not the plan, the sustainer, not the forecast. So let it be clear to you. Mental control says, I must conquer this thought. Spiritual rest says, I can withdraw consent from it. Mental control says, if I do not rehearse, it will all fall apart. Spiritual rest says, the Father within doeth the works. Mental control sharpens a sword. Spiritual rest lays it down. And in that laying down, the night loses its trial, and the soul remembers its government. Relax. Rest in the assurance that there are not two powers struggling in your head, God and fear. There is one life, and it is present, and it is sufficient now. Seek that. Consent to that. And watch how the mind's storm subsides without a fight. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world gives by force upon force, but by the simple authority of presence felt and yielded to. Now we must look the culprit in the eye. At 3 a.m, there hides a theology, even in those who would never call it by that name. It is the creed of two powers. God on one side, a threatening future on the other. And you poor, you cast as the strategist in between, rallying arguments, drafting prayers as battle plans, recruiting affirmations as soldiers, and hoping your God will be big enough tonight to beat that other force. Let it be understood clearly. This is idolatry dressed in responsibility. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Do you see? The moment you admit a rival, you have set another God on the table, and then ask the Holy One to prove himself by overthrowing it. God is not a power to be used by man, not to defeat insomnia, not to conquer finances, not to subdue a diagnosis, not to control another person's opinion. God is, I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. When you treat God as a weapon grasped by human cleverness, you remain in the arena of two forces. And in that arena, there is only fatigue, because the very structure of your thinking is war. Do you not see the trick? Even when you say God, you still believe in the enemy. You still believe something stands opposite the holy. And so your prayer enthrones both at once. Ask yourself now, without drama, is a thought a power? Is tomorrow a power? Is a prognosis, a number on a page, a frown on a face, are these powers? Or have we, as Paul warned, worshipped and served the creature more than the creator? A thought has form. A calendar has form. A report has form. These are creatures. Do not fear anything that has form. Do not worship it with your attention, your dread, your late-night liturgies of rehearsal. The creature is not power. The Creator alone is the life and law. In him we live and move and have our being, not in outcomes, not in forecasts, not in human esteem. Consider what the panic assumes, that the future is an armed man approaching your door, and you must invent a better weapon. But the future is imagination, a moving picture on the screen of mind. Who gave it a sword? Who handed it your peace as hostage? You did, I did, by consent. We deputized the picture and then trembled before our own appointment. No man can serve two masters. You cannot serve God in the calendar. You cannot serve God in the opinion of flesh. The master did not say, try to keep two bosses happy. He said, you cannot. The impossibility is your mercy. You are being driven out of the middleman role into the rest of unity. Now hear the resolution that is not an argument but a light. In spiritual consciousness, there are not two powers. There is no second life competing with life. No second law competing with love. There is grace present, sufficient, governing, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Grace does not come to overpower a rival. Grace reveals there was no rival, only a belief animating shadows. When this is seen, not mouth, but discerned, the mind lays down its weapons because there is nothing to fight. That laying down is your peace. Retire, then, from the belief in two powers. Retire from your office as night watchman. You are not abandoning care. You are abandoning idolatry. You are yielding the stage to the only actor who is life itself. Relax. Rest in the assurance that the presence, that is your breath, your intelligence, your very being, is the same presence that is the order of your affairs, the substance of your supply, the law of your body. Perfect love casteth out fear, not because love shouts louder than fear, but because when love is recognized as the only reality, fear finds no stage on which to perform. Tonight, when the mind would call court, remember, there are not two judges. There is one. Let the sentence be grace. Let the verdict be God is. And in that simple consent, the trial dissolves. Not by victory over an enemy, but by the absence of one. Let us bring this into the plain daylight. Do not fear anything that has form. Do not fear money or the lack of it. Do not fear a sensation in the body. Do not fear a memory. Do not fear even a thought. Paul warned of this when he said, we have worshipped and served the creature more than the creator. The creature is form, digits on a screen, ink on a bill, a flutter in the chest, a tone of voice, a photograph in the mind, a headline, and yes, a sentence appearing in consciousness at 3 a.m. The creator is the life, the law, the substance behind all form. The creature is never authority. Only the creator is. In him we live and move and have our being, not in forms, not by the leave of forms, not under the threat of forms. Do you not see how the worship takes place? Not with candles and songs, but with fear and deference. We keep looking at the form and asking it for permission to be at peace. We check the bank book and ask if we may relax. We wait for a sensation to subside and then promise to trust God after. We revisit the memory. We bow to its verdict. We let it name us, and we call this honesty. We hear a thought predict tomorrow, and we treat it as a prophet. And so, without meaning to, we enthrone the creature and then plead with the creator to dethrone it. This is the old two powers game under a new name. Let it be understood clearly. A thought may have form, but it has no authority unless you enthrone it. A sensation may have form, but it has no law unless you sign its decree. A number may have form, but it has no breath, no life, no governance. When you give consent, you hand a paper crown to a cardboard monarch and then tremble before your own coronation. Withdraw the consent. Let the crown fall. Thou shalt have no other gods before me is not a rule for Sunday. It is the anatomy of peace at 3 a.m. Now practice this simple discrimination. Notice the exact moment a thought stops being a passing sentence and becomes a prophecy in your mind. You will feel it. There is a click, a slight tightening. When the mind says, so it is written, but it is not written. It is only thought. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Do not judge by the form's drama. Discern by the inner law. God is. When a thought arises, you need not argue with it nor drive it out. Let it appear as a bird alights on a branch. Do not give it the throne room. Do not ask it for counsel. Let it be there without rights. without scepter, without a say in your identity or your peace. The same with the body. A twinge in the side, a flutter in the chest, a dryness in the mouth, creature. Do not scold it. Do not worship it. Let it be wind in the reeds while you rest in the river of life that bears you. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and wait for the body to agree. Be still and know the body will do what bodies do. Life is not its report. And money, listen to me, I have stared at a page with little on it and at a stack of envelopes with much in them, and I tell you, both are forms. Both sit beneath the government of grace. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Not by digits, not by dread. Memory, creature. It is a picture on the wall of yesterday. Do not smash the frame. Do not kneel to it. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. The newness is not a revised photograph. It is the presentness of God. Let the picture hang, if it must. But take your name from the one who is I am, not from the caption under an old scene. You ask, is this not denial? No. This is truth-telling. It is denial to insist that form is Lord. It is truth to say, the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. And therefore, this thought, this sensation, this number, this memory is not a power over me. Relax. Rest in the assurance that the Creator is the only life of every creature, and that the life is love, order, sufficiency. Withdraw fear, which is worship in disguise. Let the forms parade. Let the mind report its weather. We are not under it. We abide in the one. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Not tomorrow now. And in that now the creatures take their rightful place as harmless appearances within the light that is your peace. Peace. Be still. Not to the storm as a rival, but to the impulse in us to bow before it. And it is still. Let me say this plainly. At 3 a.m, you can win every argument and still lose your peace. You can marshal scriptures. You can recite affirmations. You can outtalk every phantom in the room, and the chest remains tight, the breath remains short, the clock still shouts. Why? Because peace is not the conclusion of reasoning. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, is not on the payroll of understanding. It does not report to the intellect. It is of another order, another basis, another government. Let it be understood clearly. Learning truth is not the same as knowing truth. You can fill the head with golden sentences, while fear continues a private monarchy in the nerves. You can memorize, take no thought. You can quote, be still and know that I am God. And yet the body vibrates as if an alarm were ringing. Do you not see? The letter is not the life. The letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. There is a gulf between mouthing a truth and being inwardly convinced, between repeating God is as a sentence and recognizing God as the present sufficiency of this moment. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Not ye shall repeat it. Know, discern, be inwardly shown, let it be revealed. How is this knowing born? Not from the brain's carpentry. The brain can memorize, compare, analyze, stack proofs, yes, but it cannot penetrate into God. Flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. Do you not know that the intellect cannot reveal God? It can point, it can bow, it can grow tired, it can finally grow quiet, but it cannot open the door. The natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. The Father within must do the revealing. The withinness must bear witness to itself. And when it does, all the arguments are dismissed from the court without anyone having to defeat them. I speak to you out of nights when I out-argued the darkness and still found myself exhausted at dawn. And I speak to you out of other nights when I ceased the competition of thoughts and simply turned to the presence. And in that turning, the body yielded, the nerves softened, and nothing in the room changed, but everything in me was governed. Do you not see the difference? In one, the mind fought the mind and called it prayer. In the other, the mind retired and consented, and prayer revealed itself as presence. So set your expectation aright. We are not trying to become expert thinkers. We are not training the mind to be a better watchdog. We are learning the inward yield, the quiet consent in which truth ceases to be a sentence and becomes a felt actuality. We are learning to stand aside from the duel of thoughts long enough that the deeper fact can announce itself. The Father within, he doeth the works. In that enunciation, peace is not argued into being. It appears as what already is when you cease consenting to its rivals. Be still and know not. Be brilliant and conclude. This is the shift from head knowledge to heart knowing. Head knowledge is a catalog. You can look up the verse, the quotation, the right idea about supply, about health, about safety. But cataloged light is not light. At 3 a.m, you do not need a list. You need a lamp. Heart knowing is that lamp. It is the direct awareness of presence, not an idea about presence. It is the inner Abba, Father, not as a phrase, but as a recognition. And the marvel is that when spirit witnesses to itself, the thought forms lose their teeth without your needing to file them down. Therefore, when the hour comes tonight, another night, any hour, remember, the winning move is not a clever argument. It is a holy surrender. Quietly, simply, you acknowledge, Father, thou art here. My life is in thee. My affairs are in thee. My body is in thee. And then let the intellect stand reverently aside while discernment rises from within. Not by might, not by the might of reasons, nor by the power of counter reasons, but by my spirit. Relax. Rest in the assurance that when truth is known as presence, the storm's authority is gone, and the soul abides in peace that needs no proof. Now, here is the turn. The battle has been named, the two powers' snare exposed, the limit of argument confessed. What now? Rest back. Hear it in the cadence of grace. Relax. Release. Rest back not into sleep first, but into the assurance of God. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That is not a lullaby. That is governance. Rest is an activity of spirit, not an absence of effort. Rest is the affirmative knowing of presence. Let it be understood clearly. To rest back is to withdraw from mental combat and to return to the only sufficiency there is grace now. Do you not see the difference between surrender and resignation? Resignation collapses under the weight of fear and calls it realism. It says, there is nothing I can do. I give up, and it sinks into the very sea it believes in. Surrender, true surrender, is a living consent to God. It says, Father, thou art here. Thou art the life, law, substance, and activity of this very moment. Resignation is despair dressed as maturity. Surrender is faith, becomes sight. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still is not lie down and submit to fear. Stand still is cease fighting shadows, and behold, the one, my grace is sufficient for thee. Not later, not when the figures change, not when the sensation subsides, not when the apology arrives, but now at 2:58, at 3:03, at 4:19 now. I say to you, speak it in your heart the way a thirsty man drinks water. My grace is thy sufficiency. Let the syllables fall inward, without strain, not hurled at a problem as a weapon, but received as a fact of being. Then what is the inner move? You stop asking thought to build you a bridge to safety. You stop hiring imagination to bring tomorrow under management. You stand upon the rock and discover that safety is not across the river of anxiety. Safety is the riverbed under your feet. Underneath are the everlasting arms. Rest back means that you decline the summons to be architect of outcomes and accept your ordination as witness to God. You let the shoulders drop, yes. You let the breath settle, yes. But far more, you withdraw the authority you had mistakenly granted to the thought stream. You let it pass as weather. You do not argue the cloud away. You abide under the sky that does not move, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. The moment you accept that basis, the weapons clatter from the hand, not in defeat, but in recognition that no enemy stands before you, only appearances without law. But is this not passivity? No. This is the only activity that ever bears fruit. It is the activity of awareness. Out of it, right doing will arise at the right hour. Phone calls, letters, consultations, reconciliations, yet none of these will be born of terror. They will not be bridges built by fear toward a fantasy of security. They will be steps taken upon the ground of peace. It is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. The doing is there, but it is God's doing through you, not the nervous twitch of a frightened mind. So, in the night, practice the turn-in 3 gentle words. Relax, release, rest. Relax the insistence that thought must guard you. Release the belief that form governs you. Rest in the presence that is already here and cannot depart. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, not as an emergency transmission to a far-off deity, but as a yielding into the nearness of I am. Say within yourself, without drama, Father, thou art the substance of this breath, the law of this hour, the spirit of this room. Be still and know, not be still and test, not be still and peek to see if the storm obeys. Be still and know. I tell you from demonstration, when this rest is touched, not declared from the lips, but felt in the heart, the mind quiets of its own accord. Sleep may come, it may not immediately. That is not the measure. Peace comes as governance, and governance is rest without arrival. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. The world gives rest as the prize of conquest. Spirit gives rest as the nature of reality recognized. Tonight, then, refuse the office of gladiator. Retire into your rightful post as witness. Let the battlefields in the head grow still for lack of soldiers. Rest back into grace, into sufficiency, into the everlasting arms, and you will find that the very ground beneath the moment is God, and that is enough. Now, let us bring it to the pillow, to this hour, to tonight, not someday. Here is the way, gentle and exact. First, name the temptation without scolding yourself. Say within, simply and truthfully, I am trying to use thought to save me. That is all. No wrestling, no shame, no moralizing. You have named the counterfeit Savior. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The truth here is not a counter-argument. It is this clear seeing of the device. The mind is trying to play God by forecasting and controlling. Smile at it a little. You caught it. Let it be understood clearly. We are not punishing the mind. We are removing a mask. The very act of seeing ends the pretense that anxiety is responsibility. Second, refuse the two powers premise at its root. Withdraw the charter you once gave to tomorrow as a rival authority. Say, quietly but with conviction, there is not a power called tomorrow that can oppose God. I am the Lord, and there is none else. No man can serve two masters. Do you not see? Your peace does not depend on a treaty signed with the future. Your peace rests in the fact that there is one, not two forces contending, not your cleverness holding back disaster, but one presence, one life, one law, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. When you say this within, you are not casting a spell upon events. You are returning to the one basis on which sanity stands. Third, let the body be. Loosen the jaw. Unclench the hands. Soften the belly. Let the breath fall into its own rhythm. Do not repress any sensation. Do not make war upon a flutter, a heat, a tightness. Allow them. They are creature form, not creator. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment here is to recognize this is a sensation, not a sentence. This is weather, not a decree. If a cough wants to come, let it come. If a tear forms, let it fall. You are not under these. You abide in the one in whom we live and move and have our being. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and test the pulse. Be still and know. Fourth, speak one inward sentence and then do not continue the speech. My grace is sufficient for thee. Or, if your heart prefers, thy grace is sufficient. Say it softly, like placing a lamp on a nightstand. Do not decorate it. Do not add a closing argument. Let thy words be few. Now pause. Let the sentence sit in the room of the heart. Feel the meaning without reaching for it. We are not using words to move mountains. We are letting grace reveal there were no mountains, only shadows of two-power thinking. Consent, rest, allow the sufficiency to be sufficiency. Fifth, when thoughts return as they may, as they often will do, not fight. Do not recruit a new army to chase them. Acknowledge with gentleness you are only a thought. No sarcasm, no force, only a simple naming which withdraws the badge. Then, again, rest back into the silence beneath. Not a blankness, not vacancy, the living stillness of presence. If another thought rings the bell, answer it the same way. You are only a thought. Then turn not to more words, not to more labor, but to the same quiet. Peace. Be still. Not hurled outward at a storm as if it were a second power, but spoken to the impulse in us to enthrone the storm. And it is still because its authority was our consent, and our consent has been withdrawn. This is the practice. Not to defeat thoughts, but to stop consenting to them as authority and to rest in sufficiency. Tonight, not someday, a few minutes, perhaps more, perhaps less. No timing, no measuring, no peeking to see if it worked. Only the steady return to the one basis: grace, relax, release, rest. And as the mind grows quiet by lack of audience, you will know, not argue, know that peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. It is here, it is given, it is enough. Now a word about tomorrow. At 3 a.m. tomorrow becomes a tyrant with a megaphone, and you and I are tempted to run a full trial in the dark, witnesses called cross-examinations rehearsed, verdicts imagined. Let it be understood clearly. That is not responsibility. That is fear dressed in a necktie. Responsibility is simple, clean, brief. Anxiety is theatrical and endless. Take therefore no thought for the morrow. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. The master does not cancel tomorrow. He cancels the panic that pretends to govern it. Here is the boundary. You may, if there is a truly necessary act, write one line only. At 9, call the accountant, send the document, speak to James at lunch, one line, then close the book. Turn out the lamp, offer the matter to God, and go no further. You may offer it, but you should not go further than that. No bargaining, no pleading, no strategizing born of fear. Do you see the line? To offer is to entrust. To continue is to seize the reins again and flog the horses of the mind through a night that cannot deliver daylight. Be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God, and the peace of God shall keep your hearts and minds. Do you not see? The promise is not, and the plans of man shall guarantee the morrow. The promise is peace now, governance now, sufficiency now. When you write the one line, you are acknowledging the form your day may take. When you stop, you are acknowledging the source that governs the day. That stopping is worship. That stopping is obedience to let thy words be few. Some will ask, but what of supply? What of health? Are these not real? They are creatures, forms of life's appearing. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God, not by yesterday's budgeting, not by the terror of tonight's spreadsheet. Bread is an appearance of grace. The word is the life. Give us this day our daily bread, not tomorrow's storehouse tonight, today's manna today. Fresh grace now. If God is present, what is the necessity for panic? If God is your life, what can tomorrow add, and what can it take? As thy days, so shall thy strength be. Strength is meted as day, not as dread. Let us make it practical. When the mind rises to resume its courtroom, you answer it with the boundary of heaven. I have offered this to God. I will not go further. Then be still. If a next step must be done tonight, some nights it will arise not as compulsion, but as a clear, unhurried directive. Most nights it will not. Remember, it is God which worketh in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. The doing that belongs to you will stand in the morning, fresh and unforced, because it will stand on grace rather than on caffeine and fear. I say to you from experience, I have lain awake and built empires of plans that collapse with the dawn. I have also written the one line, placed the matter within, and slept under the governance of underneath are the everlasting arms. The sun rose on the same world, yet I awoke in a different government. Do you not see the difference? In one, I tried to add to life by thinking. In the other, I consented to life, and thought became a servant instead of a master. Set this boundary gently but firmly. You may offer it, but you should not go further than that. The rest of the night is not for trials. It is for trust. It is for the word that proceeds now. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and conduct diplomacy with phantoms. If a fear insists, lift it once, only once, into the presence. Father, thou knowest. Thy grace is sufficient. Then close the circuit of words and rest back into the silence beneath thought. And if the questions return, as they sometimes will, you return as well with your own. If God is, what is the necessity for panic? If God is my life, what can tomorrow add or take? Ask it not to win a debate, but to reseat your heart in the one. In that reseating you will find that responsibility has been done. The matter offered, the line written, the night returned to God. Anxiety begins precisely where you go further. So do not go further. Relax. Rest in the assurance that grace is the governance of your tomorrows, and grace is the sufficiency of this hour. Let it be understood clearly. Do not measure your progress by I never wake at 3 a.m. That is a false measuring rod. Problems must needs be, because it is these very problems that pry our fingers from the levers we imagined were governing life. Count it all joy when you fall into divers temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Do you not see? The night watch is not proof of your failure. It is the classroom of your freedom. We have come to believe that maturity is proven by an unwrinkled life. No. Spiritual maturity is proven by what we do with the wrinkle, by what we know in the wrinkle, by whether in the wrinkle we return to grace or recruit another army of thoughts. At 3 a.m, there is a crucifixion at hand, not of your body, not of your fate, but of the belief that personal control sustains life. The cross raised in the bedroom is the cross of the will to govern by thought, to secure outcomes by fear, to maintain existence by anxious calculation. Not my will, but thine be done. Hear it in the darkness. That is not resignation to doom. That is the quiet laying down of the sword. Resist not evil, not because evil is power, but because there are not two powers. What is being nailed up is the impulse to be a second power, to contend with shadows as if they were equal to God. And what is released, what is born, is reliance, simple reliance, upon the presence that is the only life of your life. I speak to you as one who has known the long night and the hot forehead and the busy calculator mind drawing futures on the ceiling. I have watched that mind die and be reborn into trust. It is not pretty to the ego. It is not dramatic to the world. It is quiet. It is inward. It is a crucifixion without spectators. And it is followed by a resurrection that the morning recognizes before you do. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. Do not time the Lord. Do not set your clock to resurrection. The stone is rolled away not by might, nor by the push of brighter thoughts, but by the consent of a heart that has ceased to contest. When control dies, harmony appears not always instantly in form, but inevitably as consciousness shifts to the one. So, when the hour returns, as it may again, do not say, I have failed. Say, another nail may be pulled from the hands of control tonight. Time again, and time again, and time again. Each waking is another chance to refuse the battle and return to grace. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Wait does not mean stall. in fear. It means rest in reliance. Each time you rest back, a strand of the old rope frays. Each time you withdraw consent from the two powers lie, a thread of the old garment gives way, and the new man renewed in the spirit of his mind puts on peace as his native dress. Do not despise the crucifixion. Except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. Let the seed fall, the seed of your governance by worry, the seed of your anxious architecture. Let it die and see what rises of itself. Right action when called for, right silence when not, right supply at the hour of need, right word given you in that same hour by the Father within. This is resurrection. It does not trumpet. It does not perform. My peace I give unto you. It arrives as governance, and the night trial becomes the doorway through which reliance on grace is born into your actual day. Therefore, be of good cheer in the watch, not bravado. Cheer that rests in the assurance that the very place of your turmoil is the altar of relinquishment, and the altar is the birthplace of newness. If the mind wakes you tonight, greet it not as an enemy but as a messenger, announcing, here is the cross, here is the turning, here is the chance to say again, Father, not my will but thine, and then rest. Rest in the one. Weeping may endure for a night, let it. Joy comes in the morning, let it. And between the two, the government shifts. Control dies. Grace is born. And it is enough. Let it be understood clearly. Demonstration is not fireworks. It is fruit. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation. For behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Do you not see? The light that dawns after the night watch does not march down your hallway with trumpets. It presents itself in a slower breath, in a softened jaw, in the loosening of the tale you were telling at 3 o'clock. You are returned to presence. Nothing dramatic has occurred outwardly, and yet something has shifted the center of government inwardly. That is demonstration. I speak to you from mornings after such nights. The bills still lay on the desk. The appointment still waited at 9. The body still carried its history. But I found myself moved by a different law. I made the call without the edge. I answered the accusation with fewer words and kinder ones. I did the next thing unhurried. And when a mistake surfaced, I corrected it without the old self-lash. Do you not see the miracle? Not that the world bent itself to my mind, that my mind bent to spirit. Ye shall know them by their fruits. The fruit was a quiet sanity, a willingness to do what was mine to do without the compulsion to do everyone's part for them and for God besides. Demonstration is this. The breath returns from its shallow hiding place. The pulse steadies. The storyline loses its crown. You no longer enthrone the thought that paraded as a sovereign. You smile and let it pass, as a passerby creature, not creator. From there, the day carries a different fragrance. You choose better not by grim resolution, but because better has become far more obvious from the place of rest. A soft answer turneth away wrath. You discover the soft answer coming from you without effort. You find the yes and the no that are simple and clean. Where yesterday you were entangled in appeasement and avoidance. These are not theatrics. These are the quiet results of having yielded to grace. Beware the mind that says, all right, now prove it to your spouse, to your friend, to your skeptical brother-in-law. You are not on trial. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet And thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. The reward is not applause. It is peace, wisdom, timing. A spiritual demonstration is only visible to those of spiritual apprehension. You may be living in a new government, while those around you still insist on the old monarchy of fear. Grant them their liberty. You may offer them a kindness, a calm presence, even a pamphlet or a book, but you should not go further than that. Do not coerce faith. Do not perform healings as proof. He shall not strive, nor cry. Neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. Love never violates freedom. This is intimate work. You and I are not here to win arguments about anxiety. We are here to awaken from it. Let others debate techniques and count hours of sleep. Let us count fruit. Did you refrain from the unnecessary emails sent in panic? Did you keep silence when the old compulsion urged you to lecture? Did you remember to write one line for tomorrow and then stop? Did you find that you could walk past the cupboard or the bottle or the glowing screen without the magnetic pull of I must? Let your moderation be known unto all men. The Lord is at hand. Moderation is not self-starvation. It is peaceful proportion. The Lord is at hand, so the appetite that once ruled is replaced by a right use of things, a companionship with form that does not worship it. Do not measure by spectacle. Measure by governance. Did the government shift? Is there less hurry in your doing? Is there less personal will in your praying? Do you notice yourself becoming promptable, able to be moved by a gentle nudge rather than by a crisis? My peace I give unto you. That peace is not a medal pinned to you after a parade. It is the atmosphere of spirit recognized as your dwelling. And in that atmosphere, tomorrow's step announces itself on time, not ahead of time, not behind. One more word. Do not be dismayed if no one celebrates your demonstration. It is enough that the Father within bears witness. Let not your left hand know what your right hand doeth. Keep your work hidden enough that it remains holy. If someone asks for the reason of the hope in you, answer in simplicity. If they demand a sign, smile and let your day speak. The sign will be a repaired conversation, a thoughtfulness with money, a courage to apologize, a willingness to forgive 70 times 7. This is demonstration, quiet, substantial, measured not by the noise it makes, but by the harmony it leaves in its wake. Relax. Rest in the assurance that these are the proofs that matter. The breath that has remembered its maker, the mind that has remembered its witness, the life that has remembered its source. And from that remembrance, sanity walks into the day, not to impress men, but to honor God. At this moment, let us all meditate, not to add a thought to thought, not to improve the storm, but to consent to the silence beneath thought. Be very still within. No performance, no scrutiny, simply a yielding, be still and know that I am God. Let that be the atmosphere of this room, of this breath, of this very heartbeat. Let the shoulders fall as a sign of inward agreement. Let the jaw loosen. Let the breath find its own wise measure. We are not trying to enter presence. We are acknowledging presence as the fact that is already here. Now, quietly within, say no more than this. Father, thou art here. My grace is sufficient for thee. Do not add an argument. Do not test for a result. Let the word be the lamp in the night. The word is not addressed to a second power. There is no second power. Hear it as law, not as plea. I am the Lord, and there is none else. In this awareness, We retire from the contest. Resist not evil. Not because evil deserves a free hand, but because there is nothing there to resist, not another power, not a rival law, not a mind that can oppose mind. Peace, be still. Let the thoughts that rise come and go as weather. Do not enlist. Do not chase. Do not crown them. Let them pass across the face of the sky that does not move. You are not the thought. You are the awareness in which the thought appears and disappears. And in that awareness, God is. In him we live and move and have our being. Rest back there. Settle back. Rest. If a sensation speaks loudly, bless it with non-resistance. It has form, but no authority. Creature, not creator. Do not fear anything that has form, not even a thought. Now, again, in the quiet, let one sentence abide without decoration. Thy grace is sufficient. Feel how it lowers the weapons from the hand, not in defeat, but in recognition. There is nothing to fight. There are not two powers in the night. There are not two powers in the mind. There are not two powers in tomorrow. There is one. God is. Grace governs. Law is love. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Let that shepherding be the government of this moment. No engineering, no pleading, only consent. If the mind asks, but what of the appointment, the bill, the diagnosis? Answer gently, I have offered it to God. I will go no further. Then be still. Return to the lamp of the word. Return to the floor of the heart. Return to grace as sufficiency. Time again and time again and time again, when the bell rings in the mind, answer with silence and with the simple word, peace, be still. Not thrown at a storm as if it were a power, spoken to the impulse to enthrone the storm. And in that speaking, the wind has no audience, the wave no court. Let it be clear to you. This is not a once for all. We are not seekers of a single dramatic victory. We are students of a holy habit. Night after night, live with this. Morning after morning, pause in this, read less and consent more. Think less and know more. Go through this work time again and time again, until the sentence in the head becomes a knowing in the heart. Until my grace is sufficient for thee is not a verse remembered, but a life recognized. Now we are very quiet. The room is simple. The breath is steady. The presence is here. Do you not see? The battle ends not because the world laid down its arms, but because we withdrew our consent from the belief in two powers. This is the end of anxiety's government, not by might nor by power, but by spirit. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Receive it, not as a future, not as a prize, but as being. Rest back in it. Rest now. And when we rise from this stillness, let us carry it unannounced. Let it guide the next word, the next step, the next silence. If you wake in the night, come here again. If you forget, come again. If you remember, come again. The door is always open because the door is within. In this silence beneath thought, you have discovered the presence that ends the battle, and that presence is sufficient now.